to help. Mental health and wellness, I can't stress it enough. Here to lift you up, hosted by Tyreese McAllister. Yeah, join the podcast, bringing good energy once a month. Yeah, every Thursday, therapy, talking self-care and radical resilience. Put yourself first, cause it's all about healing. Let's go. Yeah, said this is what you need. Mental health and wellness with Thursday therapy. Yeah, never too late to start with mental health advocate Marci Trueheart. I know that life can be stressful, don't let it break you. We got the tools to help and to liberate you. You feeling stressed out, I know you've been searching for a little guidance. We provide it because you deserve it. Yeah, said this is what you need. Mental health and wellness with Thursday therapy. Tyreese McAllister and Marci Trueheart.
Hey, everybody. We're back. The dynamic duo.
Yes, we are.
Happy New Year to everybody. We done had a couple of shows, so we just want to thank you all for rocking with us.
And we definitely appreciate you while we were on our hiatus, as life was lifing, as we tried to figure it out individually and collectively. And now we are ready to come and we're ready to produce some more shows just discussing mental health and everything that it entails. So
what we got going on today, Marci? Who's on the today?
So it's still mental wellness month, okay? And it's still hot tea month. So we gotta find, I'm looking for some new teas to taste since it's hot tea month. And mental wellness. So let's talk about a little bit of mental wellness, and some things that we can do to keep our mental well.
Right. It's funny because a lot of times when people say anything mental, what they're really talking about is mental illness. And what we don't talk enough about is mental wellness and what that entails. A lot of people really take being well for granted, and don't really consider that they need to be in pursuit of wellness on a daily basis. Like it has to be intentional, and it's not negotiable. Right. Just like we have our dental health, we take care of our teeth every single day. We brush our teeth, we floss, we go to the dentist, but we do things that take care of our oral health. But if you ask the average person, how do they take care of their mental health? They really don't have a routine or anything that they do. So I'll start with what I do on a daily basis. I start my day before my feet hit the floor. Unless, of course, I got to go to the bathroom first. But like as soon as I wake up, soon as I open my eyes or I realize that, hey, I done made it another day, I begin with prayer. And that is part of my routine. And then I also have my Bible app on my phone. And in that app is plans, right? And so I'm on this daily plan actually with Joyce Meyer. So I read a little bit. I read my daily plan each day. And then there's usually a scripture to go with it, and I'll try to meditate on that. So that's how I start my day. The other thing that I do is I start with gratitude. I believe in starting and ending my day with what I'm grateful for, because that lifts my energy. So even when things are bad, and we all know that things can get bad and really disturb our mental health, starting with gratitude helps lift my vibration and keep me up. It's easy, so easy to focus on what's wrong in life, what we don't have, what's bad. But I intentionally start my day, and I end my day with gratitude as well, right? So I don't focus on what bad happened, or what I don't have, what I'm lacking, what I wish I had. I focus on what I have and how good God is to me. And I find that helps keep me in a very good space throughout the day. So that's just a little bit about what I do. What do you do, Marci, for your wellness?
So for my wellness, like you said, it's that waking up. So technically, I have to go to the bathroom several times a night during the night. So each time I wake up, I thank God and I do affirmations. So before when that 4 o'clock alarm wakes up, which is the one that, hey, you really gotta wake up. I of course I hit the snooze, but as I hit my snooze, I do my prayer, and I do my affirmations. I reaffirm myself before I let the world try to affirm me or disarm me. So I armor myself up first. With the like, I expect miracles daily. I am powerful. I feel my power. I am power. I walk in my power, and I understand my power. And I pray that the ancestors just wrap me, as God keeps me. The ancestors wrap me, and the universe and source keeps me. So as I say those affirmations, and then hitting the snooze the second time.
The snooze is the truth. The snooze is the truth.
Honey. And every now and again, I was in a 21-day squat challenge. I only did half the days. I'm doing horrible.
Well, you did more than me. You did more than me.
And I try to get up and do if I'm doing a challenge that particular month. I try to get up and do my challenge before, I get myself together and go out into this world. But I also
okay. You mentioned squats, and squats is physical, right? But what we don't really understand, what a lot of people don't understand, is that taking care of yourself physically is also very good for your mental health. So thank you for sharing that part. What else were you gonna say?
I totally forgot.
Yeah, that's the age thing we got going on, right? And listen. Let me tell you what else we just did. We demonstrated something amazing for all of our listeners, right? Like she forgot, and she was gentle with herself. She didn't worry or stress that she forgot what she was going to say. She didn't get angry with herself. She kind of just laughed at herself. And sometimes we've got to do that. I've seen people get so frustrated because they forgot something, or just not walk gracefully with themselves. And we really have to do that. We're women of a certain age, and forgetting is a part of the program, right?
It is definitely a part of the program.
Going with the flow. And so thank you. That was real natural, but being graceful with yourself. There is a spirit of perfectionism that I am noticing with many of my clients, right? And people want to be perfect. People think they got to do things exactly right. When they don't, they become easily frustrated and aggravated and aggravating. Nobody's perfect, and we're going to mess up. And I'm just encouraging you to be graceful with yourself. Give yourself and give others grace. A lot of times when we have that spirit of perfectionism, we also put that on other people. So like if you're a supervisor, if you're a parent or grandparent, even as a friend, you expect people to do things exactly right all the time. And it's just, life ain't like that. So when you give people grace, you also give yourself grace, right? And then Marci, you said something else too. You said it's the month of tea.
Yes, it's National Hot Tea Month. So, well, I love me a hibiscus tea, honey.
Right.
A hibiscus tea and an orange tea. I love that. So, just I know as we're in the month, but as we go further, I want to go to like different farmers markets, and I can find different teas, so I can stop drinking coffee as much, because this is the church is in a Daniel fast, so I can't have coffee or dairy. So
I'm a tea drinker myself, so I love a good tea. So that's really good. And so for this month of January, I'm going to just make sure that I do a little bit more tea drinking and experimenting. You know what I like to put in my tea besides stevia? I love to put a little shot of ginger in my tea. It's just something about a shot of ginger that really like gives a tea a wow.
Yes, gives the tea a tingle.
Right. So listen, for our viewers and listeners, send us, put in the chat what kind of teas you like. What do you like in your tea? Right?
Oh, it's just it's this tea called butterfly tea, and it turns purple. And if you put
Ooh,
lemon in it, it turns no, it's
green.
blue. And if you put lemon in it, it turns purple. And that's a great tea. It's a great tea for women. Um, and it just has so many antioxidants in it. So that's a great tea to check out too. But
Yeah.
definitely because I need more teas. So please share with us the teas, your teas that you like.
Marcy, I need you to get me some of that butterfly tea.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, I
I'll
want
have
to
it by the
try
time I
that.
see you again.
Yeah. And actually tea does have some medicinal factors. I was drinking and I'm still drinking because I'm still a little hoarse because I had a cold and some mullein tea that is really, helped me clear up. So teas have medicinal factors and also just a good warm or hot cup of tea can also be very relaxing, which is also good for your mental health.
So I know when you said the mullein tea, that's so crazy because I was thinking about I was like, do I want to get that tea? So I will go to Brown's Market one day this week because I've seen it in they have it in just a regular herb, so I can just
Mhm.
bag that up and make it a tea. So
Uh-huh.
that's a great idea. Thank you,
And then if you add a little shot of ginger, baby, it's
baby.
good and it's medicine. It's good medicine.
It's good medicine.
It
Yes,
is. It
yes.
is.
I love it. I love it.
So you
Um,
know what else is happening this month?
tell me.
It's National Gun Violence Survivors Week, right? Survivors Week. Tell us what that is, Marcy.
So, National Gun Violence Survivors Week is from January the 22nd to the 26th, and it's the 6th annual National Gun Violence Survivors Week. And this is a time when people come together and share and amplify their stories and their voices of gun violence, the voices of gun violence survivors who live with the impact of gun violence in every day of the year. But just really quick, do you know at least 120 people are shot and killed daily, and
I
more
did
than
know.
200 are shot and wounded, and countless others experience trauma of gun violence. And just gun violence of any form. And when it says they experience trauma from gun violence, and that's something that we don't talk about. Now, like tonight, we have two just beautiful souls that will be joining us, and they will be talking about how they're surviving and what their process and coping mechanisms are. But we don't talk about the aftermath. Unfortunately, we would prefer not to talk about this subject and have it taken care of before it ever happened. But it's the aftermath.
Yeah,
How are we dealing with the aftermath of it?
right. And
Uh,
actually, for myself, speaking as a survivor myself, I could tell you it is really something that you never get over, right? I think death is a part of life, and for the most part, we're resolved to bury our loved ones at some point,
mhm,
right? But when we look at the number of young people that are being taken away because of gun violence, we look at the number of people who are surviving gun violence because they've been injured by a gun. It's just incredible. The numbers are astronomical. They're getting worse. Victims are getting younger, perpetrators are getting younger, because it's my belief that we have to look at both sides of the gun, especially in the African American community. And people might be wondering why on a Thursday therapy podcast we would even talk about survivors and gun violence, but because it is related to trauma, it is related to how we continue to move in the United States with all this gun violence around us, but also how we help and support people who have had losses because of gun violence. Because honestly, I'm in year 7 going into year 8. I don't think it's anything I'll ever get over losing my daughter, Ayana Jasmine McAllister, to gun violence at age 18. Like I can see me being 80 and still really struggling through it. And then even you, Marci, you have lost one of your surrogate children, your child's friend to gun violence. And like that's even hard. So sometimes we don't think about the additional people who are really survivors, right? Because it's not the mother, the father, or the sibling, but the neighbor, right? The friend, the parent, your child's parents, your child's friend's parents, right? Like we are all survivors in this. And so we really have to look at it like last year we did a event at a school and we at a high school and we asked the children to raise their hand if they had been impacted by gun violence. And every kid raised their hand. And that was devastating to me that these children are survivors because their classmate or relative has been shot and killed. So it's
That was
something we really
at
have to look at.
Sarantsville because I remember you saw our niece. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, very, very important that we think about it and that we really remind ourselves like this is a reminder that when people have had these losses in this way, this is nothing they really get over. So it might be 10, 20 years later, and these people are still literally surviving, right? So let's bring up our guests. Who do we have, Marci?
So we have two guests. We have Tiffany Evans and Major Dobbins, and we want to bring Major on first. So Major, if you can introduce yourself and just tell us, like being you were a victim, somebody tried to kill you. And what does that effect have on you in the way that you kind of move throughout your day now?
So he well first, thank you guys for having me on. And secondly, it's something that you really, or at least myself, you really don't even pay too much attention to until you get to talk about it, and then you see people's reactions to it. So for me, I'm 33 years old. So my first experience of gun violence was seeing my friend die, and I was about 30 years old. And then 2 months after that, I was shot at 6 times in the car. And again, it's something that you just keep moving. It's like, all right, this is normal. You normalize the situation, but really, like when I speak on it, it's really not okay, um, and it's really tough to really internalize for myself. Usually, I believe that I'm someone who has always put themselves in a good situation. I'm very aware of my surroundings, but it really takes a lot more than that. You never know what another man or woman is going through, and if you're in those wrong situations at the wrong time, you can be a victim of it. So I'm just thankful that the Lord's covering, really like watching over me in those moments, especially the second one where my car is shot at 6 times while I'm in it. Um, but again, it's something I've just normalized. Like it's not that deep. It's not that deep. But I tell myself it's not that deep, but really it is extreme. And it's something that my own family doesn't know. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it right now.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing and coming on. One of the things that you said that really is concerning for me as a clinician is that you normalized it, right? Like these are not like we're literally living in a war zone, and you're not the only one who normalizes like you could be shot at, right? Like you could be killed,
I was.
and yeah, and and at 30 you normalized it. But what's really heartbreaking is when you hear an 8-year-old, right? Like normalizes, like, oh, I heard gunshots
Yeah.
last night. Oh, the police were around my way. Somebody on my block got killed. It's so heartbreaking because while we don't live in a war zone, it's very war zone like. And it's very frightening. And because young people are normalizing it, I just don't know what this is going to turn out to be for us.
I mean, I feel as though I talked to my cousins Monday night, and I feel like it's a game called Grand Theft Auto,
Mm-hmm.
and we played it as children. Everybody played it, and it's like now, especially in this area, now it's like we're living out Grand Theft Auto. You know what I mean? Where we're living out where people are just on the controller and they're shooting, and they're stealing cars, they're carjacking, and it was a video game. Where it's crazy. Like now, I get to a red light, and I look around. At a red light, I look around just to make sure like nobody's getting close to me on this side or this side or in front of me or boxing me in. And that's something that I've never in my life felt as though I've had to deal with. And I live in a fairly fairly good neighborhood, but now like crime, it has no location, it has no zip
Right.
code, it travels. Um, and I would say that the criminals are the yeah, I would say that the criminals are usually people from areas where they have to defend themselves or they have to eat. They're hungry, but now it's coming from anywhere. You know what I mean? And it's at 33 years old, I'm more fearful at 33 than I was at 18, 19 when I was really out and about. And
Yeah.
it sucks, but I mean that's just what we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. We're going to come back to you, so don't go anywhere.
I'm not.
Um, Next, we're going to bring up Tiffany. Tiffany, tell us a little bit about yourself and why it's important for us to hear your voice
Nah, for sure.
during this time.
I just want to say I appreciate you guys for having me as well. I'm always honored to be on any platform, to be able to tell my story, to be able to express the guidelines that I use to get through the day. In 2021, I lost my 8-year-old to gun violence.
Mm.
Um, he was killed at my aunt's house. He was inside of the house. Um, I was outside of the house on the patio. He was inside of the house. So, as a parent, you thinking that if somebody's shooting in the neighborhood, you thinking that you're safe. Your child is safe because they're inside the house. My son was killed inside of the house. So, um, and that's basically my story. And to say how my survival mode is, I'm always on survival mode. But what keeps me grounded is just living in my purpose. I could have gave up, right? I could have stopped, giving back to the community, but that's my power now. You know what I'm saying? And I use my voice to be able to not only express how I feel, but to be able to empower other women that's going through what I go through. Um, that is still some hope out here, just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Even like the young man was just saying, it's like we're in a war zone, definitely in a war zone. I just got a phone call today that a mother was killed today in Southwest.
Mhm.
3 kids, right? 3 days before Christmas. So just imagine the trauma that I always relive because I get those phone calls all the time because I have to arrive at the scenes. Um, so I'm here to just give families hope, give children hope that they can see tomorrow, even though it's not promising. I just try my best to keep a positive vibe in my community and let the community know that we still can fight through these crimes. We still can fight, to see another day. We just got to learn to come together and put love back into the community. I feel like we lacking a lot of love. And yeah, that's really why I'm here. So I appreciate y'all for having me, for sure.
Well, thank you so much. And of course, I'm sorry for your loss. There
Appreciate
really
it.
are no words that, can comfort a mother who's lost her kid to, community gun violence. But thank you for all that you do for the community and for the children and for the
Appreciate it.
mothers. Just, thank you.
I
Tell us
appreciate
a
it.
little bit about like, how are you taking care of yourself, right? Because Marci and I know you, and we know how you get out here and move in the community. But I'm sure, no, seriously, and I
Yeah.
know from my own experience, people like, what the hell are you made of that you can keep doing this? I
Yeah.
get it, but people
Now
are
it's a
like,
superpower. It's a superpower. It's a superpower not given to everyone, right? It's a superpower that a purpose, right? That God placed on my life. Like I said, I could have been that mother that gave up. I deal with a lot of mothers on a daily basis that have just lost hope. They're angry. They're mad at the world, right? And that could have been me. You know what I'm saying? And some days I have my moments, and I'm not going to sit here and fake for nobody. I have my days where I feel like that, right? But I tell people every chance I get, what reminds me and keeps me grounded is I live to see my son again. So if I don't live in my purpose, I'm not going to see my son at the pearly gates. I know my baby is in heaven, right? So if I want to hug my son for eternity, I got to do what God has placed on my life. And what God has placed on my life is granting people hope, putting his love back into my community. So as long as I'm doing that, and giving myself some grace in the midst of all of that, that's just honestly, that's how I get through my day-to-day base. I know that this community not only needs me, but it needs a lot of us. It needs a Ty, it needs a Marci, right? And that's just what I can offer the world. But how do I take care of myself? I pray every day, um, and I give myself grace. That's the biggest thing. Like you were speaking on a little while ago about grace. That is my power that I have to give myself. Because if I don't give myself any grace, I'm not going to be able to function on a day-to-day basis. I give myself grace. I allow myself to feel how I feel. If I feel like I'm having a bad day, guess what? Hey, these jobs ain't important to me. Because if I die tomorrow, they're going to hire somebody else. So I let my jobs know if I'm having a bad day, because I'm going to give myself some grace. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Um, and that's just really it. And my superpower is just honestly just doing whatever I gotta do. God give me my strength. So I just live in my purpose, and I just keep moving. I'm taking care of myself on a daily day. The day-to-day basis for me is just making sure that I have at least one day out of the week where I don't do no work. Right, I don't do no community work. Out of the 7 days of the week, I make sure I take a day for Tiffany. I don't answer my phone for the community. I don't do none of that. I'll see y'all tomorrow. So that's the biggest thing that I make sure I do for myself. And that's basically it, to be honest with you. Like I said, God gave me a superpower of grace, and I just live my life through that, and I get strength every day from that. You know what I'm saying? And I get strength from just knowing if I do what I'm supposed to do on earth, I'll live in heaven again with my son. And that's my honest truth. That's just my power right there, for real.
Say your son's name for us.
Oh yeah, Peyton PJ Evans.
PJ.
Yeah,
Yes.
long
PJ.
live PJ to the death of me. So
Yes.
I
Yeah.
live to see my baby, man. That's my goal. I don't let nobody interfere with that. And I try my best to teach other mothers the same thing. If you want to see your child again, you gotta do what God told you to do on earth. Your child served this purpose. So at the end of the day, you gotta live in your purpose so you can be able to see, your child again. So I try to encourage mothers and fathers all the time. They ask me, how do I get through it? I said, I live to see my son again. So whatever God put in front of me, I just follow his footsteps.
I love it.
Yeah.
Tiffany, I just want to thank you because you're such an inspiration. Um, and I want to thank you because whenever I reach out to you, you are always, I'm on it. Yes, I'll be there. And
Yeah.
we're forever grateful for your willingness to help us when we reach out to you.
Nah,
Just
for
want to
sure.
publicly say that.
I
Um,
appreciate it. Appreciate y'all too. Y'all powerful women too. Don't get it twisted now. It
yeah,
take a
and,
team,
and
right?
we're powerful together.
Nah,
Major,
for
we're not
sure.
leaving you out, but we are a little bit. But I love you, son.
Nah,
But
for real.
you're so encouraging, and it's just like, and I follow you on Instagram, and I be like, yes, yes, I love it. I love, and what you
Appreciate
said
it.
about the community needs love.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
Nah,
that's a
yeah, it's a
show
lack of
by
love.
itself.
It's a lack of love,
That's
man, in the
yeah.
community, man. Some people really don't know what love look like, and the way that we, like, the traumas that people have faced from birth to however old they are, it's normal to them, right? But for me, all of the trainings that I've had, it's made me revert back to just reliving how I'm supposed to live. So many times in my life, I was shown a different way of love. Now that I have a deeper understanding of what real love looks like, um, love feels different for me, and I want to be able to spread that to everybody else, because love is what keeps you grounded. Love is what keeps you living a little longer, right? And so for me, I'm big on love. Like I tell people, I don't gotta know you to love you. I love you because God loves you, and I live. That's what I live by. I love people how God loves them, and I tell people to this day, I even told the people that killed my son I love them, right? And that was powerful in me because at the end of the day, everybody like, nah, forget them. You know, everybody want to be bad boys and kill them, right? And where's that gonna get me though? If I
Yeah.
go and kill the people that killed my son, where is that gonna get me? Am I gonna see my son again? No, I can't miss the beat of seeing my baby. So I gotta do what God's telling me to do. So I tell those young men that I love them, even though I want to hate them. That's not what I'm supposed to do though. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I gotta show them what God shows all of us. He gives all of us a relive of grace every day. We've all committed a sin, and no sin is greater than another, right? So they've made a mistake. They're apologetic now because of the mistake they made with the 5 minute of emotion, right? And now they're
Right.
in jail probably for the rest of their life. But at the end of the day, I still gotta love them.
Yeah.
I gotta do it. That's my purpose. That's my calling. And I like I said, I live to see my son again. So whatever I gotta do to put love back into this community, I gotta show people what it look like. And so
Yeah.
when I tell people all the time, um, I tell these young men I forgive them, I love them. I pray and hope that y'all could change somebody else's life like I pray and hope that I'm changing y'all's by forgiving y'all. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how I move, man. I feel like if we just put more love back into the community, man, a lot of things will change. But I'm one person, y'all two people, he's another person. But if we get a multitude of everybody just putting love back into the community and taking the hate out of people's heart and actually walking by what we talking, I feel like the community could change a little bit. We could change the energy of the community.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So, and it's
that's it.
interesting. While I never told the people or the person who killed my daughter, that I love them. People were shocked. Marci was one of them, that I was able to forgive the person who killed my kid.
Nah, you got
And,
to.
forgiveness is divine. And it really wasn't even me, but it was so, when my daughter got killed, we had so much love around us for the McAllisters for being who we were, that it was impossible really to hate. And
Yeah,
actually, too, because I know, having been a therapist, I think at that time I might have been a therapist for like 25 years at that when my daughter was killed. But I also know that we not born monsters, right? Like we're
yeah,
not born
yeah.
with that. It's the trauma that we
So yeah,
deal with that
mm-hmm,
turns us into what we don't want to be. So let me
yeah.
ask Major, the people who shot at you, were you able to forgive them, and like how did you deal with that?
Immediately, I gave that young man grace. And what's funny, not funny, but funny about it is he asked me a question right before he shot at me. He felt as though I wronged him, and I did not wrong him. Um, we were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he may have been I'm pretty sure he was in the wrong space mentally. Um, and he had basically cut off my exit for me getting out, and I gave him grace. It's like I'm gonna let him go through what he's going through, and I look down, and he's shooting at me. But I immediately gave him grace. Um, but it just sucks because how much grace can you give people? Like, let that question like really marinate. You know what I mean? Like, what Tiffany is saying is tremendous, and not everybody has that strength. Yourself, not everybody has that strength, right? For me, if I was, a big bad guy, which I'm not, or about that hoorah, where would that
That ain't
land
what
me?
I heard about you. That ain't what I heard. I'm just joking.
Nah, I don't know what you heard then,
No,
but
I'm joking.
I'm
I'm
not.
joking.
Yeah, I'm not a big and bad guy. But if I am, where does that lead me? Now I'm away from my wife. Now I'm away from my kids. Now I'm away from my mother, because I'm retaliating based on what? But I really look at it, and I spoke to an officer 2 weeks later, and he showed me the shells in the wall that ricocheted from my car, and I just couldn't do anything but thank God. You know what I mean? So I have to give him. I pray for that man's mental health. I pray for that man's covering. You know what I mean? Because God covered me in that moment. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's I'm super honored to even be on this podcast with Tiffany, with yourself, because I didn't lose anyone. You know what I mean? You guys have lost someone. So I'm blessed enough to say that I haven't lost anyone. So I'm honestly honored to even be on this call with you guys. because I'm still here to talk about my journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I say lost someone, I'm referring to a child, right?
Yeah.
I lost my friend months before, but a child I have not lost. I have a 13-year-old, I have a 6-month-old. Um, and by the grace of God, they're still here. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I give so much uh, appreciation to you guys, especially Tiffany, her even sharing what she's going through and what she's going through.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's not easy. So I have to give that young man grace,
Yeah.
and I pray he's okay.
Yeah. And you know what? If we had more of that, if people were able to give more grace, then we would have significantly less shootings. A lot of the shootings that are occurring in the community are retaliation because somebody did something, right? And at the end of the day, what we're looking at is a history of trauma because violence is a trauma response, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we people are acting out because they have a history of unresolved trauma, but also not necessarily mental illness, but people are dealing with poor social, emotional, the inability to
Awareness.
engage, right? Like the
Mhm.
inability to control. And I think it takes so much more strength. Like people want to be the big bad guys out here, but it takes so much more strength to forgive. Like that's a strong person that can forgive when you done did something wrong. It's something major like we've been through, but also to be able to say, you know what, I'm gonna let you slide with that, right? Like that's the kind of strength that unfortunately we don't respect in our community, right? Like that strength, anybody could go to jail. Like it's easy to like get locked up, right? You might figure it might not be easy to be in jail, but to get there, it ain't hard,
Super easy.
right? But it takes a different kind of ego strength to stay out of jail. It takes a different, Tiffany said it take a superpower, right? To be able to be like, you wronged me, but I'm gonna let that slide, right? And I'm gonna pray for you. I'm gonna forgive you and
While
pray
doing
for
so.
you, and then help you, right? Like that take a whole that take that's a big difference. And while I never was able, the person who killed my daughter was never found. But and I pray for them often. I pray that maybe because I don't believe my child was intended, that maybe they felt some kind of remorse, and maybe at that point they were able to change their life, right? Because I don't think it was intentional that they tried to kill her, but maybe her death maybe saved their life. Maybe they said, oh wow, and did something different with their life. That's my prayer for them. And my prayer for our community that we really understand that we're kings and queens, really, that's we're descendants of kings and queens, and that we could get to that, right? Like our trauma can be healed so that we could get to that point. Marcy, you want to add something?
Well, first of all, to you and Tiffany, when I tell you, because when I heard Tyreese say, "I forgive you," now at this particular time, I did not know Tyreese. I knew her husband, but I didn't know Tyreese. Um, and I'm not even gonna tell you what I said, but whatever. I hey, I was like, mm-mm. I don't even know goons, but I was gonna find some. I was gonna find some, and they was gonna find the killers.
I know that's right.
but I was honest because somebody had did something to me, and Tyreese, you and I have talked about this. Um, that was egregious, but nothing, nowhere near the extent of what you did, and I hated that person for a whole year. Like I wanted to strangle them with both of my hands myself, but after, because I had Tyrese had to therapize me for this. But I had to forgive when she broke forgiveness down, and I knew how to forgive, but this particular person I didn't want to forgive. And Tyrese pulled me into a therapy session real quick, and I actually had to say, okay, God, I gotta forgive this person, because if if I don't forgive them, then God can't forgive me.
And Marci, you say something that's so important, and I hope we talk about mental health and wellness, right? Like this is Mental Wellness Month. The
Mm-hmm.
inability to forgive eats at your core more than anything else. And I really am very grateful to God, like for my profession, because the
Yeah.
year before Ayana was killed, I was working with 3 clients on forgiveness. And trust me, I was giving them therapy, but it really was for me. And I didn't realize at the time that everything I was working with them on for a year about forgiveness, and none
Yeah.
of it was in the type of forgiveness that I had to do, right? It was all about different things. But when I say my eyes were open to forgive, because honestly, I don't know if I would have been able to do that. And as we speak about wellness, I think that something else is important is that when Ayana was killed, March 21st, 2017, I thank God I was in a healthy place. I was mentally healthy. So forgiveness came naturally and easily. If I was not healthy mentally, I don't know if that would have occurred. So I think it's important, like even though we're talking about Survivors Week and Mental Wellness Month, that we got to really be working on our mental health because we don't know. Like Tiffany and I had no idea that we
Yeah.
were about to deal with this.
Nah, that's
Major,
crazy you
I'm
said
sure
that
had
though,
no
Ty.
idea.
Nah, for sure. Like when you saying that, being in a healthy space, like literally, like the year 2021 was like our great year. You feel me? Like that was a year that everything was just manifest. Everything that I manifested was coming to fruition. Like 2021 was a great year for me and my son. I had just bought my house earlier the year before that, so everything was just coming together. Life was just getting great. Finances were getting great. The mental health was great. We were spiritually connected. It's crazy. So it's like God was just preparing my mental, when it happened, I always tell people, because I think people fail to understand, forgiveness is not for the other person; it's for your own mental health,
It's not.
right? Forgiving somebody is so that you won't be mentally stagnant in that situation that you were put in. Forgiveness is for you to be able to move on mentally, um, and where you need to be at, so you can heal from whatever you were hurt by, right? And that's
Tiffany,
what I
can I
try to.
interrupt you for 1 second?
Yeah.
When people because my forgiveness came as a surprise to me, but it came when a news anchor asked me the question, what would I say to the person? I hadn't thought
That's the
about it
same
before,
question. The same question I
right?
got.
But when I said it, I was surprised too, right? Like, oh, I
Yeah.
forget a person. Okay. Right. But then
Yeah.
God showed me that I had not stressed about the person at all. But what I do, and people marveled at it. Marci was one of the people. But honestly, that was the most selfish thing I've ever done in my life. Like forgiving a person wasn't even about them. It was
Yeah.
because I knew that if I did not forgive them,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
not going to be good. Right.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so, and not just that, but I had a another child to take care of because while my 18-year-old was killed, my 19-year-old was on the scene with her. Right. So that's a different kind of trauma. She not only lost her sister, but her best friend. And then my husband lost his baby girl. So I
Mm.
had no time to trip, be angry, deal with the poisonous of unforgiveness because I had to secure I had to keep my family together.
Together.
And
Yep.
so people were marveling, and I was like, that's just crazy because it ain't even, it wasn't for that. It wasn't even about the TV. It was really about like I needed to stay well. Like I was in a
Yeah.
good place before it happened, and I knew it, and I needed to stay there. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for letting me interrupt, but I
Nah,
wanted to make sure that people
that's major though.
understood that.
That's major though. Like what you saying is exactly how I felt, and I got the same question that day. My son died on August 24th. I did my first interview August 25th that morning at 10 o'clock. I'll never forget. It was all these news people at my mom's house, and I went outside and just did a press conference. And I let everybody know. They said, "Oh, well, what would you tell the killer if you could tell him?" I said, "I forgive him." And nobody could understand how I could say that. It wasn't even 24 hours when my son had
Yeah,
been killed.
yeah.
And I tell people whatever came to my mouth that day. And sometimes I go back and look at these interviews and I just tell myself, I just thank God for his grace. because that wasn't me talking. That was God talking through me,
Yeah.
right? He just used my tone, he used my voice, and he gave me the power that I needed in that moment to help not only myself but my family. When I went back
Yeah.
in the house, I had a house full of people at my mom's house, and they just couldn't believe that I said what I said because they were still in a space of anger. They were
Yeah.
still in a space of I want to retaliate. And I had to tell everybody at the end of the day, I birthed him. And at the end of the day, whatever God is telling me to do, I'm going to tell y'all to do. And y'all got to listen to me. You feel me? And so 2 years later, my family is still looking up to me to encourage them to get through their hard times because they're still struggling with it, right?
Yeah.
But like I tell them, I have to forgive. If I didn't forgive, I wouldn't be able to sit here and give out toys to these kids that need them right now. I wouldn't be able to give the community what they need from me right now. And I get it all the time. People say they appreciate me, and like I tell them, I'm just doing God's work, man. Like I said, I always use the hashtag even before my son died, God's plan. Whatever God got for me and my son, we're gonna live in. And that's what I was teaching my child. So I know my son in a better place. And I tell people continuously, I do what God needs me to do so I can see my baby again. And I live by that, I bleed by that, and I sweat through all of the pain that I go through on a day-to-day basis in life. I live by that mantra because at the end of the day, I just gotta live in my purpose. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. Forgiveness is so real, and I let people know like that's something you got to do for yourself, for your mental health, man. Like forgiveness is so hard to do, but you gotta do it, be able to move on with life and be able to move in a purpose that you're supposed to live in. So
Yeah.
it's major.
It is. It is.
Yeah, it's major.
All
It's
right.
definitely.
So I mean, there we have it. Like we kind of brought Survivors Week and mental health and wellness full circle. Full circle. Major, did you want to say anything before we did you want to add anything?
No, I'm just very appreciative. This was therapy, essentially like therapy Thursdays. So this was good. It's a lot more work to be done.
Yeah.
I pray that this interview or even this conversation is extended out, because we're we're doing this, but it's going to take the village to hear these conversations and to hold these conversations and to normalize these conversations, especially men, to have these conversations because there's so many victims, whatever their situations are. I'm not going to get into that, but we have to have these conversations. That's the only way to heal and to progress. And until we're able to do that, it's going to be like a revolving door,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. So I'm very appreciative. I'm enlightened actually. Like I said, I'm honored to be on this not panel but conversation panel. But we have to continue this conversation, and it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be in this format. It does not have to be on Streamyard. It could just be around the way. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I pray that we're able to get used to these conversations, this dialogue, so the healing can begin and the work can be done. So this was great.
Yeah. And thank you because I think your voice is an important one to bring to the table because people will look at Tiffany and I as the survivors, right? But they
Mhm.
don't look at a person who was shot at
Nah,
as a survivor, but there's a lot of
nah,
trauma
it
there. And not
is.
just for you, but like if your family know that, like if somebody shot at my baby
They
and,
will.
and I
They will
know
very
like
soon know. They will very soon know.
yeah, and so it really is important because and Marci gave the statistics when we started 120 people get killed every single day, but
Yeah, but
so
how
many
many?
more people get shot and we have
Yeah.
those numbers that people who get shot and survive, but we don't really have the numbers that people who are
We
like
have no idea.
in
We
the
have no
in the
idea.
midst of
Yep.
gunfire, right?
Yep. Yep.
Because
Yep.
like Tiffany was saying with PJ, the he got shot in the house. But Tiffany, how many people were in the house?
So it was actually seven of us outside of the house, and they were shooting at my cousin, trying to kill my cousin. My son was in the house with his cousin, so it was two kids in the house, my son and his cousin, and then me and my family were sitting outside of the house. So
How
we were
how old
shot.
is he?
My son was 8, but my
When was
family
this?
was. This was in 2021.
Was this the Landover?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah, yep, yeah.
That
So
was daytime.
Yep.
Now I was at it was like in the evening. It was dark. It was dark outside.
Mm.
But it was, it was probably around like 7 o'clock. Like 7:30, 8 o'clock. It was something around that time. Yeah.
And it was a dry. It was a.
They walked up on us. They walked up on us trying to kill my cousin. Yeah. So I mean, we were shot at as well. So we ducking, thinking that we dodged it or whatever.
Yeah.
Both of my nephews got shot, but they, it was like small wounds or whatever like that. But my son was inside of the house and got shot. Yeah.
And killed.
Yeah, he was shot and
Yeah,
killed.
so
Yeah.
but the news doesn't take into account like that's 9 people, right? That
Yeah.
are
Right.
survivors, that are
Right.
survivors. And so we, and not to mention like other people who were in, because it was an apartment. So
Yeah.
anybody else
And
who was inside that
the
apartment
apartment
is
upstairs, it
also
missed the 1 year.
traumatized.
Yeah, it missed the 1 year old. The bullet went over the 1 year old bed, over top the apartment, over top of my aunt's apartment. Yeah, it
So
went over top of the baby's crib and missed the 1 year old baby.
yeah,
And has that one been resolved?
Nah, we waiting on trial now. Hopefully trial will be in April. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So, and that's another thing, right? Like that you have to live through, right? Like, you have to face the people who have taken your son. And even with forgiveness, that's not an easy walk.
nah, for real, it's not. I already seen one of them in person. Definitely wasn't an easy walk because I'm like, I'm a big woman. I ain't gonna lie, I'm almost 6 feet tall. I be ready to square with these niggas. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, let me just box y'all niggas in right quick. No funnies or disrespect. But again, I gotta bring myself back to reality. You know what I'm saying? And just understand. I gotta keep focused and stay focused. I can hear my son telling me, "Mommy, I'm waiting on you." So I gotta stay focused to see my baby, man. I ain't letting nobody interfere with that. I don't care who
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and in my case, we don't have anybody. Like I don't have a face or a name or anything. So, for some people that could be easier, for some people it's harder, right? I know
Yeah.
that one of the things that I've said, because I know a lot of times people in our position get really bent out of shape because maybe the person didn't get time or they didn't get enough time or the amount of time they thought they should get. And honestly, the Bible says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And the American prison system ain't necessarily justice, right? And
Yeah.
so we got to really look at that. Like, is it really justice? Is like, taking my kid's life and somebody give you 15 to 20 years, like that don't necessarily make me feel better. Because guess what? The 15 to 20 years you in there, my tax dollars taking care of you too. So,
Right.
it,
That
it
part.
really just
And that's how I
I
think,
think
sis.
about
I
that.
swear. I think about
Right.
all of that. I think the same thing. Look, I say the same thing to myself, my family. They be like, "Oh, are you ready? Are you gonna be all right for trial?" I said, "Guess what? Whatever's gonna happen to them, I'm a big fan of karma. I don't even care about trial. I'm not trying to be funny. Y'all could get these Bammers a life in prison, 15 years, 7 years. They gotta live with what they did for the rest of their life. I don't care about none of that court stuff. You feel me? I don't care about none of that. And that's what keep me grounded, like with everything. Like I could real life face these dudes, but at the end of the day, I just be like, yo, karma is real. It might not happen in this generation of your family, but it's gonna happen in the next generation probably, or the generation after that. You gonna feel what you did to my son. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I look at it. You know what I'm saying?
I always say karma got your address. You can move
Yeah.
if you want to.
Hey,
Like
it's gonna
karma got
follow
your
you.
address. And that's why honestly I just try to be a good person, right?
There
Because
you
it got
go.
my
That's
address
it.
too.
Right.
Yeah, that part, and and it's so crazy, Ty, because so many mothers that are in our situation don't understand it, and I swear I try to preach it to them all the time, and I tell them every day, y'all try to ask me why I do what I do because I'm a big fan of karma, but I'm also a big fan of if I treat people with kindness, guess what? Kindness is gonna stay in my part. So at the end of the day, I treat people how God treats them. So if God could love you through your hardest times or whatever you did to anybody, God still forgive you. He still love you. That's how I live. And I got to live like that. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? That's what grants me peace. That's what grants me grace every day. A lot of people look at me like, oh, you don't cry a lot. Oh, I do. I definitely do. You know what I'm saying? Don't ever get it twisted. That was my whole baby, bruh. You know what I'm saying? I definitely had my bad days, but I have my bad days and good memories. I don't have my
yeah,
bad days with bad memories because I know I did right by my son from
yeah,
day one. I never failed on my son. You know what I'm saying? I gave him the best life I could give him, and I put religion into his spirit at an early age. So at the end of the day, I feel like as a parent, I did my job. He served his purpose on earth. I just continue his legacy. That's it.
That's
So I
it.
try to,
That's
I
it.
try to, I try to get parents to really understand why I'm the way I am. They try to get it, but they really don't get it, especially when they not living the life they supposed to be living as parents. I deal with parents that kids been killed by police. I deal with parents that's been killed, by community violence. But at the end of the day, if y'all do what y'all supposed to do as parents, a lot of times you're gonna feel this pain if it happens to you, but you'll have a little more grace on your life if you do right as a parent while they here. You know what I'm saying? So I try to not only help parents that's been through what I've been through, but I help parents that's struggling with raising their children, right?
Yeah.
Do what you're supposed to do as a parent, from jump. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what it is. If you gotta have 3 jobs, do what you gotta do as a parent to give them the right things, the right tools that they need in life. And I'm telling you, if anything happened in your life, you gonna have a little more grace on yourself because you know that you're doing right by your children. A lot of these parents are living in sorrow because they failed as parents, and it's the honest truth. It's facts that's been spoken. I've seen it. I see it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So some people having these kids and really don't know what they doing.
Right.
We gotta get tight on our parenting, you know what I'm saying? And so I try to spread and touch everybody in every situation in my community, not just gun violence, but I try to touch parents that's really struggling with parenting because
Yeah.
it's books on it, but again, Black people don't want to read. So you know what I'm saying? So it could get deep with me, you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie, I had y'all here all night talking.
And you know what else parents don't want to do? You know what? Not just parents, but people don't want to do. They don't
Yeah.
want to heal, right?
Yeah.
Like, people run
It's
from
quiet.
therapy,
It's
and I'm
normacy.
like,
It's normacy.
yo,
But guess what I love about life? I love being uncomfortable. The uncomfortable
it
has
is
brought me so
uncomfortable.
many. I love being uncomfortable. I've grown so much as an individual. Being uncomfortable is the best feeling for me. It's like a thrill for me. You know, when people want to get on the roller coasters and all that, that's how I look at certain situations in life when I get uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I enjoy the ride.
I try to tell people healing is so sexy. Like
Oh
that,
my gosh.
yo, no, I'm serious.
Nah, for
You can
real.
talk to somebody who they just healed, right? Like they don't necessarily have it all together, but they working on their stuff, right? Like I can sit there and talk to them all day, right? Like, and
Mhm.
it could be a man or a woman. It ain't even about the sexual attraction. It's just
Yeah.
like that healing. Like I've been
It's
through
that
this,
glow.
and here I am. Like,
Yeah.
yo, to me, that's like, and I tell people now, like, y'all see that doctor right there, that costs some money. I got student loan for days. Okay.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
children's children got to pay my student loans, but guess what? Yo, it is worth every single
Mm.
dime because that master's in doctor in psychology, baby, I have healed up some childhood stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
some family stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
marriage stuff, married 32 years. Like,
Yeah.
baby,
Oh
that
yeah, Ty.
healing,
You know what it is, Ty. Ty, that lady out here in the community for real.
no, that healing is some sexy stuff,
Nah, for real.
right?
It really is though. It really is though. It's like I walk different sometimes, and it's like no funnies. It's like I attract so many. I'm a lesbian, so I attract so many women now. It's just like, what y'all saying? Okay, I appreciate it.
They see
You
that
know
healing,
what
boo.
See that glow, bro?
That
I'm
healing,
saying?
let me just tell you. Let me
Yeah, nah, it's
and
crazy,
people, my daughter is like, strangers just walk up and start talking to you because
man.
I'm healed.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
people just give you stuff. It's the healing, baby.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
it's
nah, it's a good
very,
feeling
it's,
on this side, man. It feels so great on this side, and it's like it's hard for me to teach everybody everything, but I just try to show them better than I could tell them, and I just try to live by what I talk about. You know what I'm saying? And it's an awesome feeling on the other side of being healed, man. It's an awesome
it
feeling,
is.
and I
It
just
is.
thank God for
Tiffany,
it.
before we go, I need you to please share your foundation, or you got is it a foundation?
Yeah, my son foundation, IMPJ foundation. It's the IMPJ Foundation. Just trying to work with youth sports. I'm trying to get back to youth sports. My son was a football player, so I want to be able to offer them mental health awareness and mental sport. I mean, in sports with mental health for my young people. I don't care what sport it is. I want to be able to give them any tools that I've been taught. Um, in the future, I'm definitely going to be bringing Big Ty out there, to give them some love for real.
I'm here for it.
Definitely. I'm definitely just trying to help my young people because they lost, man, and I want to be able to offer them the love and support that I honorably told them I was going to give them. So that's my goal in 2024. I also work with Hope and Action. It's a community-based violence interruption program for Prince George's County. So that's why I'm ripping and running right now with this. I'm trying to get these toys to these kids by this weekend. Just giving back to the community. So y'all can follow anything that I'm doing on my platform or any platform. On Facebook, it's Tiffany Tiffani Evans Evans. That's on Facebook. And on Instagram it's IAM_Lanae LNAE. Follow me on Instagram and stay connected with me. If you have any questions, want to reach out to me, I'm always here to help my people. I'm one person, but I try my best to touch everybody that I can that reach out to me. So I appreciate the love. Long live PJ to the death of me, and I appreciate you ladies. I love my sisters, and it was a pleasure meeting you, Major. God bless you, and you stay strong through your healing as well, sir. And if you ever need me or whatever, I'm here. You know what I'm saying? So stay connected for sure. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Tiff.
y'all.
Thank
Nah,
you.
for
I'm gonna
sure.
get
Oh,
off.
Major, say it again. I was trying to take you off
I'm
mute.
gonna
Go ahead.
reach out. I'm gonna reach out to her when we get off.
Oh, nah, for sure.
Excellent.
Please do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Major, thank you so much for joining us too and sharing your story. It's an important story, and it's a story, unfortunately, that our community missed, and we did not want to miss it. We want to make sure on Thursday Therapy, we bring in people what they really don't always get, because everybody ain't going to come sit on our couch. So we thank you for sitting on the couch with Marci and Ty. Do you have any final words?
Um, I would say that everyone who's tuned into this, don't just listen, but let's take action. So that we're able to change things. You know what I mean? So many times we just listen to people talk, and then we press the X button, and then we go about our day, whatever that looks like. TV, sleep, to the club, whatever. But let's try to really do the work together because it's going to take all of us. So that would be my message.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you
Absolutely.
both for joining us. All right. So, Marci, we're going to let you come on with your Marci moments. What you got for the people? Give us the
So,
wisdom.
so our my Marci moments actually came from some of the things that they said in today. Live in your purpose. Healing can be done, but healing, forgiving is healing yourself. And what healing is sexy, honey, because I'm sexy and I'm healing myself. So when you see me walking around with this glow, it's because I'm healing myself. I'm forgiving those who have done wrong against me. But guess what? Karma has your address and she about to knock on your door, but I'm healing myself.
All right. All right, all right, all right. Okay, so you have just been therapized by Tyreese and Marci. We thank you all so much for joining us on the virtual couch, right? Coming in our therapy session. Join us each Thursday as we come and we bring you different information on mental health and wellness, right? We're gonna bring you some different stuff in 2024. We're gonna really, rev it up for you guys. So we thank you for joining us. Join us every Thursday. Please join our Facebook page, like us on social media, Thursday Therapy, right? We want you to join and be a part of what we do. Hey, if you have any ideas, if it's anything you want to know, let Marci and I know, right? Hit us on our inbox, give us a shout out, let us know what you want to hear, and we will get it to you, right? Each month we are preparing our shows with you in mind. We want to be helpful for the people. We want to be conduits of your healing. So join us on Thursday Therapy. Thank you all and have a blessed night.
Yeah, mental health, gotta look out for self. For real, it's so important, and you know we're here to help. Mental health and wellness, I can't stress it enough. Here to lift you up, hosted by Tyreese McAllister. Yeah, join the podcast, bringing good energy once a month. Yeah, every Thursday, therapy, talking self-care and radical resilience. Put yourself first, cause it's all about healing. Let's go. Yeah, said this is what you need. Mental health and wellness with Thursday Therapy. Yeah, never too late to start with mental health advocate Marci Trueheart. I know that life can be stressful, don't let it break you. We got the tools to help and to liberate you. You feeling stressed out, I know you've been searching for a little guidance. We provide it because you deserve it. Yeah, said this is what you need. Mental health and wellness with Thursday Therapy. Tyreese McAllister and Marci Trueheart.